Paige, 32 years old. I'm a housewife and live with my husband Alto and my mother-in-law at my in-laws' house in Tokyo. Alto and I were originally co-workers. He's not exactly slim or handsome, but he was always kind when we met. I was touched by how faithfully he pursued me, and we ended up dating and eventually getting married. After that, I quit my job to become a full-time housewife. But I still get the occasional phone call from my former senior, Kayako-san. Hello? Hello, Paige, you have to hear this. You know the handsome guy who joined the company right after you left? Kayako-san loves gossip. But even though she's into it, she knows the line between what's okay to say and what isn't, so everyone calls her the kind of person you just can't hate, and they all like her. By the way, is Alto doing okay lately? Huh? I've seen him get scolded by the manager quite a bit recently. He's been making a lot of mistakes and he always looks down when I see him. Up until recently, Alto and I had been living a peaceful, happy life. But just like Kayako said, I had also noticed Alto coming home looking gloomy and I'd been worried. I told him that if he ever wanted to vent, I'd listen and that I'd help however I could. But he hasn't opened up to me at all. To make things harder, my mother-in-law just became someone who needs full-time care around that time. It was just her legs that weren't working well. Otherwise, there was no other major issues with her. But at the time, I was busy learning about caregiving to support my mother-in-law. Maybe Alto didn't want to add to my burden, so he was being considerate by not complaining about work. But he wasn't offering to help with the caregiving either, and he started taking it out on me by yelling.
I'm home!
Welcome home! Alto doesn't seem to be like himself again today. Hey, Alto, are you okay? Like I've said before, if there's anything I can do, I'm here for you.
You don't get it, do you? What could you possibly do to help me?
Huh?
There's no way you can help. Stop making empty promises and saying things just to sound good.
Alto, how could you say something like that? Paige is just worried about you. Luckily, my mother-in-law is also a kind, sensible person, and she defended me like this, so I wasn't too emotionally overwhelmed. I also believed that once Alto got back on track with work, things would return to normal between us. But after a while, Alto started acting strange again. This time for a different reason. First, he started spending way more time on his phone at home. Then he became self-conscious about his chubby belly packed with triglycerides and suddenly switched to sugar-free beer, even though he used to say he hated it. On top of that, he started going out more on weekends, and of course I began to suspect that Alto might be cheating on me. But those weren't the only changes he went through. He told me he'd had his salary cut, and the money he gave me for living expenses decreased. He also started criticizing me more and began making nasty comments specifically about my age. Gradually, I began secretly thinking about wanting a divorce from Alto. But the thought of leaving behind my mother-in-law who needed care made me hesitate. As I spent my days worrying about what to do, this happened at the end of the month. What? This is all the money for this month? It's even less than last month!
I told you my salary was cut, so there's nothing I can do about it.
The whole salary cut story sounds fishy to me. It's weird for your pay to drop by several thousand yen every month.
Jeez, you really don't listen, Paige. Maybe you're getting hard of hearing now that you're getting older.
Huh?
Your looks are fading too. You didn't make an effort when you were younger, so that's why you turned out looking like this.
What's wrong with him? He's the one with the flabby belly and he's talking about me? Unbelievable! That's when this happened. Alto, you're being terrible to Paige. Apologize. My mother-in-law, supporting herself against the wall, slowly walked into the living room. I rushed over to help her, but that's when...
Psh, Mom, you always side with Paige. You have no idea how I feel, so don't act all high and mighty.
What? You can't be serious. It's obvious to anyone that you're the one in the wrong. If you do something wrong, you apologize. That's common sense. You can't even manage the basics, which is why your boss is always scolding you. Don't you get that?
I don't get it. I guess we just don't see eye to eye, so I'm leaving.
What? Alto packed his things and actually left the house. After he went out, my mother-in-law kept bowing her head and apologized to me. I obviously told her that it wasn't something she needed to apologize for, but it made me wonder how such a wonderful mother could create a monster like him. Well, he said he was leaving, but I figured he wouldn't be that heartless as to abandon a mother who needs care. I thought he would be back soon. Then, the next Saturday, while I was making lunch in the kitchen, I heard the front door open. Could it be Alto coming back? But soon I heard footsteps approaching, and for some reason it sounded like there was more than just Alto's footsteps. Finding it strange, I turned off the stove and stepped out of the kitchen. Then suddenly, what the hell is this? I heard my mother-in-law shout. Panicking, I rushed to her room, and there stood Alto and a young woman I didn't recognize. The woman smiled at me and said, "Nice to meet you. I'm Lua." I get it now. Alto's been calling me an old lady so much lately because his mistress was younger. What is this? This house is mine. Who gave you permission to bring this woman here? Get out. I can't stand the sight of her. Oh, she's so scary. Save me, darling. With that, Lua clung to Alto. Then Alto said,
I'm here to cut ties with you and Mom.
Alto said, thrusting divorce papers at me.
I'm gonna marry her, so you can take care of Mom from now on.
When he left yesterday, I thought it was just anger talking. But it seems like he was serious. What? Are you really abandoning your mother? And you're telling me to take care of her? Do you even realize what you're saying?
Enough! I got scolded at work, and then come home to find no one on my side. The only one who makes me feel better every day is Lua. I'm gonna make her happy.
What? No one on your side? I've always been here to listen, offering to help you. Who do you think has been cooking your meals? Who's been washing your shirts and socks? Who do you think cleaned up after you?
Just file the divorce papers at the city office yourself.
Alto spat those words out and left with Lua. I was so furious that I thought the veins in my head might burst. But then, at that moment... Well, shall we begin? Huh? Suddenly, my mother-in-law pulled out a brown envelope from the side table. The moment I saw the writing on the envelope, everything clicked into place. So that's what those mysterious letters she's been receiving lately were about. And the story my mother-in-law told me afterwards, oh, it was hilarious. That guy's life is over. Serves him right. The next day, I stood and waited in front of an apartment building. That's when, from a distance, I saw them, Alto and Lua, walking together holding an eco-friendly shopping bag.
I can't wait to eat that beef tendon hot pot with you, Lua-chan.
Me too, but I'm glad we could get it. It's such an expensive beef tendon hot pot. Are you sure you can afford it?
Lua-chan, don't worry about the cost. I'll spend as much money as it takes for you.
Well, good afternoon, you two. Huh?
How did you find us here?
Alto blurted out. Forget about that. You two still haven't paid me the alimony. What?
Hey, Paige, I was always going to pay the alimony later, okay? But seriously, how did you find this place? You came all the way out here?
Alto snapped. At that, I calmly pulled out the envelope my mother-in-law had shown me yesterday. I tossed the papers inside onto the ground, scattering them. Lua's face turned pale in an instant after seeing the pictures. Alto stammered as he saw the photos.
What is this?
His voice trembled, his face going green. Well, it wasn't surprising that he was reacting this way. Every one of those photos showed Lua, not with Alto, but cozied up with another man, arm in arm, clearly flirting. Oh my, Lua-san! You've had so many boyfriends, haven't you? Then I played an audio recording from my phone. Hello? I saw your message from earlier. I got into a fight with my parents, so I'm now in Tokyo alone. If I go home, they'll drag me back, so no reunion for me. Work? Pfft, no way, I'm slaving away. I've been hitting on a few old guys around town and they're giving me money to get by. One of them even bought me an apartment and a designer bag. He's so easy to manipulate. Oh, and get this. He's got a wife and a mom who needs care. What? You think I'm awful? Nah, it's their fault for being fooled so easily.
Huh? Is that easy guy you're talking about? Is that me?
Alto muttered, looking at Lua with a devastated, almost indescribable expression. Lua stammered, struggling to find her words. It seems like you were just an easy mark to Lua-san, I said with a smirk. Oh, and how I found you two and learned that Lua here had so many other men and got this recording? Well, I owe it all to the detective.
Detective? When did you hire a detective?
I didn't. Your mother did.
My mother?
Yep, that's a real mother for you. She noticed something was off with you way before I did. She hired the detective to investigate you, and once your affair was confirmed, she had them look into Lua as well. You're not exactly the type to be drowning in admirers, right? Your mom thought there had to be something suspicious about a young woman being so interested in someone like you. And guess what? She was right. Lua here was just after your money, and you fell for it hook, line, and sinker.
No way!
Alto stammered, looking utterly defeated. Alto collapsed, crying uncontrollably. Lua, who had been looking increasingly uncomfortable as her lies were exposed, suddenly snapped. What a hassle! Yeah, I tricked you, so what? Is that a crime? As if I'd ever actually be serious about an old man like you. Oh, you two are so annoying. Just get lost already! But just as Lua was ranting, we suddenly heard another voice. Turning towards it, we saw two people hurrying toward us. Dad? Mom? Lua gasped. Yes, Lua's parents had arrived. Naturally, I had gotten their contact info too, and I'd made sure to inform them of everything I knew about their daughter. They'd come all the way from the countryside to deal with the situation. After bowing to me several times in apology, Lua's father grabbed her by the collar and started dragging her away. Stop it! Let me go! Lua screamed, kicking and struggling. But her parents were having none of it. They shoved her into the back seat of a car parked nearby, and without another word, they drove off. Just then, I heard a voice behind me. Whoa, yikes, I saw the whole thing. What should I do about this? I turned around, and there she was. Kayoko-san, standing with her smartphone aimed right at us, apparently recording the entire scene. Kayoko did say that she lived around here, didn't she?
Kayo-san! Please! Can you keep this to yourself?
Huh? Well, if that's what you want, Paige-san, I guess I could. No! Feel free to spill everything to the people at work.
Wait, what?
Oh, really? Got it then. See you. Kayako-san said, clearly thrilled to have scored some juicy new gossip. She hopped onto her bike, humming cheerfully as she pedaled away.
Wait, Kayo-san! Please, don't tell anyone!
Alto cried out, trying to chase her down, but he ended up tripping and falling flat on his face. After that, my divorce with Alto was finalized. I got a solid amount of alimony, thanks in part to Lua's parents backing me up. Apparently, Lua's fallout with her family started when she spent money she wasn't supposed to touch on her reckless adventures. It also turned out that she had affairs with other married men besides Alto. Her parents took her phone and contacted all the wives of those men, leading Lua to face an overwhelming amount of compensation claims. To pay off the debt she racked up, Lua now works back-to-back shifts at a convenience store and a pig farm. The exhaustion has aged her so much that people say she looks over 20 years older than she actually is. Auto's reputation plummeted after Kayako-san spread the word about everything she'd witnessed that day. He became increasingly uncomfortable at work and eventually decided to quit. Unfortunately, in this tough job market, he struggled to find a new position. To pay off his debts from supporting Lua and the alimony he owed me, he worked grueling hours at a factory during the day and took on night shifts at a construction site. When he finally tried to reach out to his mother for help, she turned him away, saying that he was the one that had cut ties with her. On the bright side, Alto's once round belly shrank significantly from the hard labor, which could be considered a silver lining for his health. As for me, I continued to live happily with my mother-in-law. I couldn't bear to leave her alone, and our life together has become incredibly joyful. Plus, thanks to Kayako-san, I was given the opportunity to work remotely for my previous company, which I truly appreciate. Speaking of which, just the other day, my mother-in-law and I had this delightful conversation. Here you go, Mom. I brought you some tea. Thank you, Paige. This aroma. It's wolfberry tea, isn't it? Right on the mark. You're sharp as ever, Mom. Wolfberry tea is great for people with high blood pressure and can prevent diabetes. It's delicious. You can really tell that healthy food makes the body happy. I have plenty more, so just let me know whenever you want some. Thank you so much, Paige. I'm so happy that you continue to live with me. I just hope I'm not becoming a burden to you. Not at all! Please don't say that. We're family after all. Paige, having such a lovely daughter like you makes me the happiest person in the world. I feel the same way. I'm truly lucky to have such a wonderful mother. Thank you for watching! What kind of crazy people will we get to see next? Stay tuned for